Right, settle down please. Now, over the last few sessions on straight lines, we've looked at the various forms of the equation of a line. Say the general form of the equation of a line, which is like ax plus by plus c equal to 0. And then we looked at the slope-intercept form, y equal to mx plus c. And then the intercept form, which is like x by a plus y by b equal to 1. And then we looked at the normal form, which is like x cos alpha plus y sin alpha equal to b. Now, the framework of all these forms is somewhat similar in the sense that both the x and the y coordinates of any point on the line, they lie bonded together in a single equation. Right? That's the framework of all these equations. Now, we are going to venture into investigating that form of the equation of a line in which the x and y coordinates of a certain point are not talking to each other directly. In an equation like ax plus by plus c equal to 0, the x and the y coordinates are communicating directly with each other, right? In y equal to mx plus c, there is a direct link up. Now, we will look at the equation of a line in a form in which the x and y coordinates are talking to each other with the aid of an agent, with the help of an agent, which would be like a parameter, Now, observe the following. Say this is a line with slope tan theta. This is a line with slope tan theta. Alright, a fixed line with slope tan theta. Say there is a fixed point P, h comma k on the line. There is a fixed point P, h comma k on this fixed line, right? H comma k is a certain fixed point. A known fixed point. Henceforth, we look upon this point as a reference point. Now we are going to relate any other point on this line, a moving point, with this fixed point, Now suppose there is a moving point M, x comma y on the line. X comma y on the line. Say there is a fixed point, there is a moving point M, x comma y on the line, right? Say this distance is r. Say this distance is r. Right? Say this distance is r. What would this angle be? Theta. This point would have x coordinate h comma 0. Right? And this point would have coordinates x comma 0. Yes or no? Yes. If this length is r, then this distance PD, say PD is r cos theta. How about it? PD then would be r cos theta. Clear? And MD would be r sin theta, right? MD would be r sine theta. Clear? Where r is the distance between P and M. R is the distance between P and M. Different points M would be at different distances r from the fixed point P. Different points M on the line would be at different distances from the fixed point P, right? R therefore is seeming to emerge like a parameter. R therefore seems to emerge like a parameter, a variable which would locate various M's on the line, right? Now, this is X, right? The X coordinate of this moving point. Which is going to be this length, which is H, plus this length, which is the same as this length. So this length is going to be r cos theta. So this X is going to be H plus r cos theta. Right? Clear? Now, this length is K, right? So this length will also be K. Now this is the y coordinate of M. This is the y coordinate of M. And that's going to be K plus r sine theta. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, realize that the x and y coordinates of any point, they are not talking to each other directly. They are talking to each other by means of an agent r. They are talking to each other by means of an agent r. Now, let us investigate a little more on r. Let's carry out further probe on R. All right. Realize if there is a straight line, then either this theta would be acute or this theta could be obtuse. These are the only two possibilities for a straight line. Either the straight line would be inclined this way or it's going to be inclined this way. So either it's going to be acute or it's going to be obtuse, right? One way or the other. Sine theta in this case will be positive. Sine theta will also be positive in this case. This case because it's acute. This case because theta is in the second quadrant. If it's obtuse, it's in the second quadrant, right? So sine theta, anyways, for a straight line will always be positive. Or rather, I would say non-negative, right? Now, look at this. This gives me R for the point M. With every point M on the line, I could associate a R. With every point M on the line, I could associate a R. Now, this R could be written as y of any point minus the k is the y of the fixed point, y of any point M, this is the y of a moving point, minus y of the fixed point divided by sine theta. Yes or no? What do you say? No? I solved for r from this equation, y minus k by sine theta. Isn't it? Where y is the y coordinate of any point on the line, k is the y coordinate of this fixed point, sine theta, where theta is the angle that the line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis. Right? Now, the thing that emerges about this r from this equation is that can I remove this? Yes. if this is the fixed point P, H comma K, this is theta, this is the moving point M with coordinates X comma Y, right? With this point M, I could associate an R, and for this point M, realize that the Y of this point is greater than K. If I looked at a point M, then the Y of this point is greater than K. So for this point M, Y is greater than K, and therefore R would be positive because sine theta is positive, because Y minus K is positive and sine theta is positive, and therefore R would be positive. So for this point, the parameter R is going to be positive. Yes or no? Clear? However, if I looked at a moving point M prime here, say XY, right? We would also want to associate a R with this point. The R of this point is going to be the Y of this point minus K, Y of the fixed point divided by sine theta, right? Clearly, for this point, the Y of this point is less than K, isn't it? In this direction, the Y's are decreasing. In this direction, the Y's are increasing. So the Y of this point is less than K. So Y less than K for M prime. So Y minus K for M prime would be negative, but sine theta will be positive. So for M prime, for this point M prime, the R would be negative. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Do you all understand this?
Yes, sir.
And if M coincided with P, R will be 0. If M coincided with P, R would be 0. Which means a clear-cut demarcation. R is a parameter. R is a parameter. It's an algebraic entity. R is a parameter. It's an algebraic entity. Given a reference point P on the line, given a fixed point P on the line, if you move in the direction of increasing Y's, this is the direction of increasing Y's, the R's for points that occur here would be positive. If you move in the direction of decreasing Y's, this is decreasing Y's, the R for such points would be negative. That means the point P fragments the line into two portions. One side of P on the line, the other side of P on the line. For the points that lie in the direction of increasing Y's with respect to P, if you locate points in the direction of increasing Y's, the R for such points will be positive. If you locate points in the direction of decreasing Y's, then the R's for such points would be negative. For P, R would be 0. Which means with every point on this line, there is a unique R associated. On one side of P, you will get positive R's. On the other side of P, you will get negative R's. Yes or no? R is an algebraic entity. It has its own sign, right? But the important thing is, no matter what sign it has, no matter where M lies with respect to P, on one side of P or on the other side of P, R may be positive or negative, but magnitude of R, mod R, no matter what R is, positive, negative or 0, mod R will always represent distance of M from P. No matter where M lies, whether R is positive or negative, mod R will be an easy representation of the distance of the moving point M from the fixed point P. If there is a certain point for which you have got r equal to minus 5, what it means is that that point is 5 units away from P, the fixed point P. If you get r equal to plus 5, then also the distance of M from the fixed point P is going to be 5 units. Right? So r in a certain sense has a dual flavor. The sign of r will tell you where a certain point M lies. Right? The magnitude of r will indicate to you how far that point is from a certain fixed point upon the line. Yes or no? That's the duality and the versatility of this agent or parameter r. With every point on a line, given a fixed point P, given the slope of the line, the r of every point can be uniquely and comprehensively obtained. And I repeat, r is algebraic in character, positive for all points on one side of P, negative for points on the other side of P. P is a reference point. For P, r will become 0. If you move with respect to P in the direction of increasing wise, r's will be positive for such points. If you move with respect to P in the direction of decreasing wise, the r's would be negative. And this would be, given the algebraic r for any point, the x and y of that point could be, x and y coordinates of that point could be obtained with the help of these equations. Now in this pair of equations, x and y are not directly communicating with each other. They are communicating with the help of a parameter r, agent r. And this form of the equation of a line is called the parametric form of the equation. This is called the parametric form. This equation of the line is referred to as the parametric form. What is the parameter? The parameter is r. Yes or no? Now r has its own brains. Then it will be ambiguous. We cannot say. That's why, because cos theta can be positive or negative. So we cannot say conclusively. That's why I use the second equation to be conclusive about r, because sine theta did not change sign when theta varied from acute to obtuse. Since this gave me a conclusive evidence on the sign of r, I deployed this to my advantage. This one led to ambiguity. This did not tell me for sure what the sign of r was, because cos theta could have been positive as well as negative based on the quadrant in which theta lies. No, but would you want to take cases, or you want to be a single case? Yes, yes, yes. If this has given you a value of r, then the same value of r will apply here. It's not like for a given point M, you use one sign of r and another sign of r. It's the same r for a given point M, x comma y. Mod r, no, for a given point M, x comma y, not mod r. The algebraic r will be the same. If you solve for r from this equation, say they gave you a certain point x comma y, and they gave you a point h comma k on the line, right? And you solve for r from this equation, then the same r you can plug into this equation. It's not mod r. It's the same r for a given xy. It's the same algebraic r, not mod r. Mod r has a meaning. The meaning of mod r is the distance between M and P. That's the meaning of mod r. That's all. Do you understand this fact?
Yes, yes.
Hmm?
Sir, and what is meant by a parameter?
Something that could be varied. If I vary r, then I get all sorts of points. R could vary from minus infinity to plus infinity. On varying r from minus infinity to plus infinity, you get the xy coordinates of all points that lie along this line. If r is 0, you get x is h and y is k, which is this point. R equal to 1 will give you a point here. R equal to 2 will give you xy of a point here. R equal to 3 will give you a xy here. R equal to minus 1 will give you the x and y coordinates of a point here. Minus 2 will give you here, and so on and so forth. Minus infinity will go down to the deep from whence it sprung. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So far so good, right?
Yes,
say, if there is a line like this, for example, and there is a reference point P, H, comma, K, this is theta, the slope of this line is tan theta, then the x, y coordinates of any point on the line is given by h plus r cos theta, y is k plus r sin theta. Right? Now, can you tell me in this, on this side of P you have one kind of R's, on this side of P you have another kind of. For P, R will be 0. Because see, if you plug in R equal to 0, you get x is h, y is k, the coordinates of this point. With different points M, you will have different values of R coming married with their signs. Right? Now, tell me, if I go in this direction, will I get positive R's or negative R's? Suppose I have a point M here. Will R for this point be positive or negative? Positive. Why? Because in this direction the Y's increase. So R for this M would be positive. Right? In this direction, the Y's decrease. The Y's decrease in this direction. So if you looked at a point M here, the R for this point would be negative. Yes or no? Yes. So which means, if there is a fixed point P here, there is a point M here, the R of this point, let's say, is 4. There is a point M prime here, the R of this point would then be minus 4, say. Realize that these points M and M prime are equidistant from P. The distance from P of M is mod 4. The distance of M prime from P would be mod minus 4. Both M and M prime are 4 units away from the origin. That means the midpoint P would be the midpoint of MM prime. P would be the midpoint of MM prime. So if there is a R equal to 1 here, there would be a R minus 1 available there. Yes or no? Yes, sir. So, in a general sense, if someone told you there is a point mod R equal to 1, then he's actually talking of 2 points. He's talking of a point with R equal to plus 1, and he's talking of a point with R equal to minus 1. Yes or no? Yes, sir. And mod R equal to 1 is about 2 points that are 1 unit away from the point P. And obviously there will be 2 points. There will be 2 points 1 unit away from P. One would be a point here 1 unit away from P. There is going to be a point here 1 unit away from P. How about it? And like I said, and I repeat, this R is a parameter, an algebraic entity, enjoying positive values if you move in the direction of increasing y's from the fixed point P. In the direction of decreasing y's from the fixed point P, the r's would be negative. For the fixed point P, r would be 0. And you would always write the equation as h plus r cos theta, k plus r sin theta, because the sign is there built into r. You don't apply your brains to the existing brains of r. R has its own brains. Right? You don't write an equation h minus r cos theta y is k plus r sin theta saying it's going to be positive there, negative there. No. It's carrying its sign inside it. There is a sign that is built into r. So you don't write a h minus r cos theta, k minus r sin theta. No, not at all. R is algebraic. Right? R is algebraic in character. Always write the equation in this form. The sign of r that is required for that xy will be built into this. You don't impose your signs on that. The sign that is required for a given m, xy would automatically emerge when you solve for r, say, if required. How about it? Now, now we are equipped. There was something that I mentioned in the last class, which I said I'm going to take it up later. Perpendicular distance of a point from a line, say. I use that fact to find angle bisectors, etc. But I told you I'm going to come back to this result once I have given you enough ammunition, right? Huh? Well, theta is 90. Put theta equal to 90. Wrong time, dude. Wrong time. If theta is 90, put theta equal to 90. What is the problem here? See, if theta is 90, then you don't have to do all this at all. Say if theta is 90 and there is a point P, H, comma, K. Then this is like x equal to constant. All points on this will have x equal to h. That will be the equation of this line. Right? If theta is 0 degrees, this is the line with theta equal to 0 degrees. If there is a point P, H, comma, K, then all points on this will have y equal to k. Don't break your heads on such lines. Right? Huh? Got me? Huh? Now, see, if there is a line, say ax plus by plus c equal to 0, right? And there is a point P, say x1, y1, there is a point P, x1, y1 not lying on the line, right? And I want to be able to find the perpendicular distance of P from this line. Clear? Now, what's the slope of this? The slope of this is minus a by b. Is the slope of this, right? The slope of this is going to be, say, tan theta. Theta is the angle that this line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis. Tan theta would be b by a. Do you realize this? Why? Because these two lines are perpendicular to each other. Yes, product of the slopes of two perpendicular lines is minus 1. Right. So if this line has slope minus a by b, this line would have slope tan theta, which would be b by a. Right. Yes or no? Now, Q, let's say, is the foot of the perpendicular. Q, let's say, is the foot of the perpendicular from P onto this line. Right? P is a reference point. Right? And the parameter on this line associated with Q is R. On this line is R. Right? Then mod R would be PQ. If the parameter associated with Q is R, then PQ would be simply mod R. Clear? PQ would simply be mod R. Now, the xy coordinates of this point Q with respect to x1, y1 in terms of the agent R, the parameter R, like I just discussed a little while ago, x would be x1 plus r cos theta, y would be y1 plus r sin theta. Yes or no? These would be the x and y coordinates of this point given the parameter for Q as seen by P is R. Right? if I have to find the perpendicular distance between P and Q, I'll have to find mod R. I'll have to find mod R. Clear? Now, this xy is the coordinates of point Q, but Q lies on this line. So the coordinates of Q, this represents the coordinates of Q. The coordinates of Q will satisfy this equation. That means this x and y should satisfy this equation. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So Q lies on this line, say L1 equal to 0. Q lies on L1 equal to 0, which means A into the x coordinate of Q plus B into y coordinate of Q plus C must be 0. X coordinate of Q is x1 plus r cos theta. That's the x coordinate of Q. The y coordinate of Q is going to be y1 plus r sin theta plus C equal to 0. Yes or no? This will give me the parameter r of Q. This will give me the parameter r of Q. Yes or no? Now, let me solve for r because my objective is to find mod r. So it makes sense for me to solve for r. When I solve for r, then realize that r turns out to be from this equation minus ax1 plus by1 plus c divided by a cos theta plus b sin theta. That's r. Right? Yes or no? Now let me simplify it further. What I am seeking to find is mod r. What I am seeking to find is mod r. This minus sign will get gobbled up by the modulus sign whenever I deploy it, so it's not an issue, right? Now, given that tan theta is b by a, the slope of this line, do you realize that sine theta is going to be, if tan theta is this, sine theta is going to be b divided by root a square plus b squared? Right? That's going to be sine theta. Cos theta. Cos theta is going to be a divided by root a square plus b squared. That's going to be cos theta. Right? I can plug in cos theta and sin theta here. Right? So r then turns out to be minus ax1 plus by1 plus c divided by a cos theta. A cos theta means a square by root a square plus b squared plus b sin theta. That will make it b squared by root a square plus b squared. So plugging in cos theta and sin theta, I end up getting a squared by root a square plus b squared plus b squared by root a square plus b squared. That's r, right? The denominator would be a square plus b squared divided by root a square plus b squared. That will simply make it root a square plus b squared. So this expression then reduces to minus ax1 plus by1 plus c divided by root a square plus b squared. Yes or no? And mod r would be the required perpendicular distance. Mod r would be the required perpendicular distance. How about it? Right? So, if I have to find mod r, which represents the perpendicular distance from this fixed line, then mod r is going to be mod. See, this minus gets eaten up. It'll simply the modulus of this. So modulus of ax1 plus by1 plus c divided by root a squared plus b squared, which is the perpendicular distance of x1 y1 from this fixed line ax plus by plus c equal to 0. Does it make sense to all of you? Hmm? Which a square plus b? Numerator, or you mean this denominator? This. The denominator there is a square plus b squared by root a square plus b squared. What is that equal to? Is that not equal to root a square plus b squared? Are you still confused? Was that your question? Okay. I hope you've realized what I've done here. No confusion, right? Okay. So of course, we used this result in the last class, but by the time I was teaching you things there, I had not covered the parametric form of the equation of a line, and therefore I did not consider it fit enough to give you the proof at that point of time. But by this time you are equipped to understand this proof, right? Now whistling ways. Whose was that? Some mobile sprang into action. Yes, CT Mar is here, but he will think a few times before whistling in my class. Huh? No, he won't. I know. Now, yes. Now, see, if someone gave you a line, right? And a point P not lying on the line. Suppose this point Q was the foot of the perpendicular drawn from P onto the line. Q was the foot of the perpendicular drawn from P onto the line, right? The slope of this was minus A by B, whereas the slope of this is B by A. Now this xy and this x1 y1 would constitute the slope B by A. So can I say y minus y1 by x minus x1 is B by A? Can I say this? Yes. Right? This xy lies on this line. So this xy satisfies this condition. So this xy will also, for Q, for the point Q, ax plus by plus c must be 0. Clear? So you have two equations in two unknowns, x and y. You can solve these two equations and get the foot of the perpendicular from P onto this line. You can get the foot of the perpendicular from P onto this line by solving this pair of simultaneous equations. Now, although you can do that, what I'll do is I'll give you a packaged version of this. The packaged version of this is the following, which is just obtained by rearranging terms aesthetically. To get xy, you can use this. Either you can solve these two equations using brute force, or you can do the following. This x minus this x by A is y minus y1 by B is minus ax1 plus by1 plus c by a square plus b squared. You could use this. Using this and this, you can get the x coordinate. Using this and this, you get the y coordinate of the foot of the perpendicular. You can use this. This is just the packaged version when you solve these equations. The x and y coordinates of this point Q will satisfy this condition. No, it does not matter. It does not matter. That was only for angle bisectors for definiteness to arrive at a model for that. But for this, it does not matter. Clear? In fact, let me also tell you that another packaged version of the whole thing. See, if there is a line ax plus by plus c equal to 0. And there is a point P not lying on the line. Call it x1, y1. Now, P has a mirror image, P prime. P prime is the mirror image of P. P prime has coordinates x comma y, which is the mirror image of P. With respect to the line. That means it's as if this is a mirror, this is an object, and this is its image with respect to this mirror. Now, if this be the case, then the midpoint of PP prime must lie on this line. This M must be the midpoint of PP prime if they are mirror images of each other. Yes or no? Now, this is to this is 1:1. M is the midpoint of PP prime. So using section formula, the coordinates of M would be x plus x1 by 2. Y coordinate would be y plus y1 by 2. Right? Now, again, like before, this line is perpendicular and this line would have, the slope of this is minus a by b. So the slope of this is going to be b by a. Right? Now, M has these as its coordinates. So these coordinates must satisfy this equation because M lies on this line. So the coordinates of M will satisfy this equation. So since M lies on this line, A into the x coordinate of M. X coordinate of M is x plus x1 by 2. Plus B into y coordinate of M, which is y plus y1 by 2. Plus C must be 0. Right? Also, y minus y1 by x minus x1 must be the slope of this line. B by A, right? How many unknowns? 2 unknowns, x and y, and how many equations? 2 equations. You can solve for x and y from these 2 equations and get the mirror image of P, right? However, again, let me give you a packaged version of the solution to this equations. This pair of equations can be rearranged to get the following. Have you finished jotting this down so that I could wipe it off?
Yes, sir.
To get the mirror image x comma y, you do the following. X minus x of this divided by a equals y minus y of this divided by b is minus 2 times ax1 plus by1 plus c divided by a square plus b square. Using this and this, you would get the x coordinate of the point P prime. Using this and this, you can readily obtain the y coordinate of P prime. Right? All's good? Now, let me introduce to you another notion which is the notion of locus. Locus. So, when we are talking of locus, we are embarking on a moving point. We are talking of a moving point, right? And the moving point has a certain trajectory. The moving point has a certain trajectory. P is a moving point. It pursues a certain path. It pursues a certain path. When it pursues a certain path, then for any point P lying on the path, the x and y coordinates are, say, x comma y. X comma y are coordinates of any point that lies on this path, the trajectory. Now, an algebraic relationship, write down. First of all, write down the point P moves according to a certain set of conditions, physical or geometrical. The point P moves according to a set of conditions, physical or geometrical. Tracing a certain path. An algebraic relationship connects the x coordinate of the moving point with the corresponding y coordinate. True for all positions on the path. This relationship is referred to as the equation of the locus. This relationship is referred to as the equation of the locus. Right? Now, my attempt would be to give you a preliminary idea on how to find the equation of the locus. Now, to begin with, huh? Yeah. Locus is a path. Trajectory is also a path. Locus, focus, hocus, mumbo, jumbo. All same. Right? Say if there is a point, fixed point P, x naught comma y naught is a fixed point P. And there is a moving point M. M is a moving point. If a point moves, it subscribes to a set of conditions, one or more. There is a set of conditions that it subscribes to. Say this point subscribes to the condition that MP, distance between M and P, is 5 units. Right? That means on the path that it describes, there is not just one point M for which this distance would be 5 units. There would be a collection of points for which this distance is 5 units. And all such points would enjoy a certain algebraic relationship. All such M's commensurate with this condition would enjoy a certain algebraic relationship. That would be referred to as the locus of this moving point M. Now, say, while describing this path M, there is a certain point that we look at, a certain point h comma k that we look at on the path. There is a certain point h comma k that we look at on the path. Then the distance between h and k, hk and p must be equal to 5. So which means root h minus x naught whole squared plus k minus y naught whole squared must be equal to 5. Right? This condition is true not just for this hk, but true for any xy lying on the line or on this path, but true for any xy lying on the path, yes or no? Right? So then what we do is we generalize this condition. This is a certain point I have taken, but I could generalize this condition. When I generalize this, I can replace h by the x coordinate of any point and k by the y coordinate of that point. Right? So then you generalize matters here. You generalize and say, replacing h by x and k by y, you get x minus x naught whole squared plus y minus y naught whole squared is 5. This condition would be true for any xy on the path described by M. So this would be referred to as the locus of M. This would be referred to as the locus of M. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Right? Lost? No? Of course, you also understand that M moves in a manner that its distance from P remains fixed. That means M must describe a circle with center at P and radius 5. The locus of M in this case is a circle of radius 5 units and center x naught y naught. Yes or no? So the path of M in this case is a circle with center P and radius 5. Any point on this circle would have x and y coordinates that will satisfy this condition. Yes or no? So this will then represent the equation of a circle with center x naught y naught and radius 5. This will then represent the equation of a circle with center x naught y naught and radius 5. Right? Any xy lying on this circle, must be commensurate with this condition. What do you say? Right? Let me go a little further now on locus. Say this is the floor and this is the wall, right? And there is a ladder, and say this is the origin. There is a ladder AB. There is a ladder AB. All right. Say the ladder AB is of length L. We will assume the ladder is not made of rubber, where its length could vary, not made of foam, where its length could vary. We'll, for all practical purposes, assume that the length of the ladder remains the same. Carbon fiber. Now, what we do is, we think of this ladder sliding. The ladder is sliding. So, while the ladder slides, the point B goes down and the point A moves rightwards, right? The ladder slides. No, we will assume that the sliding occurs in a reasonable manner. The ladder will not dig into the ground. Right? Now, while the ladder slides, the coordinates of A and B will vary. A and B therefore would be variable points. Yes or no? Yes, right? Variable points. These would be moving points. Yes or no? Okay. Now one basic question. What's the locus of A? And what's the locus of B? Locus of A would be y equal to 0, isn't it? It's moving along the x-axis. Locus of B would be x equal to 0. It's moving along the y-axis. This is the locus of A and B. Yes or no? Right? That's all right. It doesn't mean that, it has to cross all points on the x and the y-axis. The points that it crosses, they either lie for A, those points lie on the x-axis, they lie on this equation. All points on the path of A must satisfy this condition. All points on the path of B must satisfy this condition. That's all. Right? Now, say outside. All right. Now, there is a parameter here. Realize that this is a parameter. The coordinates of A and B will depend on theta. Coordinates of A and B will depend on theta. So, theta is a single parameter that will uniquely determine the coordinates of A and B at any given instant of time. Right? So, if L is the length of the ladder, if AB is L, then would you mind believing that this would be L cos theta? And this is going to be L sin theta. So, coordinates of A will be L cos theta, 0. Coordinates of B would be 0, L sin theta. Right? Theta is a parameter. So, coordinates of A and B represented as such would be different for different thetas. While the ladder slides, the coordinates of A and B will change. Right? Now, I mark a certain point on the ladder. Say I mark a point P on the ladder. I create a scratch at P. I create a scratch on the ladder at P. Right? And this point P divides the ladder in the ratio, say, 2:1. Divides AB in the ratio 2:1. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, say if this was the position of the ladder, the point A was here, the point B was here. The point P would have been somewhere here, dividing it in the ratio 2:1, right? Now, if the ladder was sliding, this is where A comes, this is where B comes. P moves to another position, the coordinates of P will change, right? If the ladder slides further, then once again the coordinates of A and B will change. The point P, it's the same point on the ladder, but now it has moved to a different position. Yes or no? So there is a trajectory associated with P, isn't it? After a while, say the point P would be somewhere here, and then little later the point P would come down somewhere here, and so on and so forth. So there are very many positions of P associated by the motion of the ladder. The motion of the ladder associates with itself a P here, and then say a P here, and then say a P here, and so on and so forth. You could populate all the P's. You could collect all the P's. If you put together all the P's that are associated with various positions of the ladder, then these P's, would constitute a certain trajectory. These P's would constitute a certain trajectory, yes or no? Yes. There is a locus associated with P. There is a path associated with P. P has different x and y coordinates at different instants of time. For different thetas, the x and y coordinates of P would be different. This is for some theta equal to theta 1, this position of P. This position of P could be for theta equal to theta 2, theta equal to theta 3, and so on and so forth. Different P's are obtained. There is if you join all the P's continuously, you get a path associated with this moving P. P is a moving point. There is a trajectory associated with this moving point. There is a path associated. There is a locus associated with this moving point. Yes or no? Yes, right? Now, we need a description of this path. We need an algebraic description of this path. We need a relationship that would algebraically connect the x and y coordinates of this moving point P. Now, while I connect the x and y coordinates of this moving point, the parameter theta must go into oblivion, because that relationship between the x and y coordinates of the moving point should be true for all thetas. That should be true for any possible value of theta that the ladder encounters during its slide. So, write down. While obtaining the locus of a point, while obtaining the locus of a moving point, it must be borne in mind, that the algebraic relationship connecting the x and y coordinates of the moving point, be true for any value of the parameter, no matter what, should be true for any value of theta in this case, should be true for any value of the parameter no matter what, which can only happen if that relationship does not contain, if that relationship is not contaminated, with the parameter, What I mean is, once you finish writing, I'll tell you. So this is a moving point. This is the x and y coordinates. These are x, y's, which will be different for different values of the parameter theta. But I need a relationship which should be general. How can it be general? If it does not contain a parameter theta. That relationship between the x and y coordinates should be true for all positions of the moving point. Should therefore be independent of the parameter. That's when, right, the parameter will tell you different positions of the moving point. But I should have a relationship that should not depend on the specific position of the moving point. It should be true for all positions of the moving point. And therefore, we should keep that relationship deprived of the parameter no matter what. And that relationship would be referred to as the locus of the point P. Now, so far so good. Now I have given you a framework. Now let's obtain the locus of the point P. Let's get to ground reality. Okay. Say then, for a certain theta, for a certain specific theta, the point P has coordinates h comma k. For a certain theta, the point P that we are examining has coordinates h comma k. Now what I would want to do is, I would want to connect the x coordinate h of the point P with its y coordinate k in a manner that this h and k do not involve theta. This relationship does not involve, in this case, the parameter theta. If it does not involve the parameter theta, that means it will be true for all hk's lying on the path traced by P. That means then we are inviting a generalization. Then we can replace h by the x coordinate of the moving point P and k by the y coordinate of the moving point P, provided I connect h and k in a manner that the parameter theta goes into oblivion. Now check this out. Can I find h and k in terms of theta? Yes. How? Section formula. So using section formula, h would be 2 into L cos theta, right, plus 1 into 0 divided by 2 plus 1. 2 into L cos theta by 3. That's the x coordinate of the moving point at a certain instant when the parameter is theta. That's the x coordinate of the moving point when the parameter is a certain value theta. Now the y coordinate of the moving point, 2 into 0 plus 1 into L sin theta by 3. Section formula, L sin theta by 3. Now I need a relationship that would connect h and k in a manner that the theta is not prevalent, right? If that relationship does not contain theta, that means it's true for all hk's. That means it does not depend on what theta is. It will be true for all points hk on the path traced by P. See, that means I want to eliminate theta from these two equations. The way to eliminate theta from these two equations is, let's say if this equation is 1 and this equation is 2, then cos theta, as you can see from equation 1, is 3h by 2l. Sin theta is 3k by L. That's sin theta, right? I need a relationship that should not involve the parameter. How can I eliminate the parameter theta here? When I square and add, the parameter is cut out. Theta gets cut out. Then I have a relationship between h and k that will be true for all theta, because for all theta, cos square theta plus sin square theta would be 1. Therefore, that relationship that connects h and k would be true for all theta, means all positions of P. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Very good. So square and add. So square and add, cos square theta plus sin square theta is 1. That means this square plus this square must be 1. Therefore, 3h by 2l whole square cos square theta sin square theta, which is 3k by L whole square, That's equal to 1. Yes or no? Right? Now, no matter where P is, this condition will always be true between the x coordinate h of the point P and the y coordinate k of the point P. This will be true for all thetas, means all positions of P. If it's true for all positions of P, this is ready for generalization. This is ready for generalizations. That means you can replace h by the x coordinate of the moving point P, k by the y coordinate of the moving point P, and that will give you an algebraic relationship connecting the x and y coordinates of the moving point P for all positions of the ladder, for all values of theta. Yes or no? Right? So generalize this, replace h by x and k by y. When I say generalize, means replace h by x and k by y. Plus 3y by L whole square. That's equal to 1. For any xy on the path traced by P, this condition would be satisfied. This is the algebraic relationship met by any P on the any xy on the path traced by P. How about it? Are you lost, confused, or convinced? Yes, that's the point that I'm talking of. I'm talking of the various positions of a point P which divides the ladder in the ratio 2:1. Yeah. That's the condition for that point P. Like I said, if I'm tracing the path of a certain point, I will have to take into account the conditions that must be met by that point. The point P for various positions of the ladder will always divide the ladder in the ratio 2:1. It'd be a fixed point on the ladder, but since the ladder is moving, this point P is also moving. So there is a trajectory associated with that point. At different instants, it has different xy coordinates. At all instants, the xy coordinates of this moving point P must satisfy this condition. This then would be deemed as the equation of the locus of the moving point P, commensurate with the condition that the point P is a point etched on the ladder, dividing the ladder, let's say, in a ratio 2:1. How about it? But then, no. See, where is the generalization? I need a relationship true for all theta. So, can you give me an equation that will be true for all theta? It will not be true, right? So, I will have to eliminate theta. If theta gets eliminated, it will be true for all theta. That means all positions of P. That's why the parameter would have to be removed some way or the other. In this case, this is what I did to remove the parameter. In certain other cases, something else would have to be done to remove the parameter. Yes or no? Yes, because the condition has to be true for all values of the parameter. When would a condition be true for all values of the parameter? If the parameter is not present, then it will be true for all values of the parameter. So what I mean is, hey, don't get finicky about this. This is for the ladder. Yes, all that I mean is the xy of any point traced by the point P, any trajectory traced by the point P must satisfy this condition. This is all that it means. It's another issue that in this case, x and y also have to be positive because it's a case of the first quadrant. But all points in the first quadrant satisfying this condition must be points on the path traced by P. No, not for this case. Not for this case. In this case, because the ladder is a physical entity confined to the first quadrant, that's why we know that this condition would be true for the path provided x greater than 0, y greater than 0. Right? How about it? Right? Now what we'll do is, just to give you hands-on exposure to ladder, I'll give you a small chirgut which contains some simple situations on illustrations on locus. We'll look at those illustrations together so that we can get a hang of what it really means by eliminating the parameter, how we could generalize matters, and so on and so forth. So let's get hands on with issues related to locus. So locus is a simple little thing, but would have to be properly understood at the very onset. Down the line, all of coordinate geometry would be about various paths, and therefore an algebraic relationship connecting the x and y coordinates of the moving point enjoying various trajectories. Alright, let's start looking at these problems and get a basic hang of locus. Okay, so the first problem in this, there is a variable line which is given. The variable line is x cos theta plus y sin theta equal to p. That's the variable line. Theta is a parameter. That means theta is varied, right? And this line could have been, let's say, in the xy plane. This is that line, variable line. For different thetas, you get different positions of the line, right? However, theta is not this angle. Theta is the angle that the perpendicular in this case makes with the positive direction of the x-axis, but I'm not depicting that. And this point is A and this point is B. So while this line varies, the coordinates of A and B will vary, the x and the y intercepts will vary. This line could have been rewritten as x by p sec theta plus y by p cosec theta equal to 1, right? So this is the x-intercept, this is the y-intercept of the line. So A has coordinates, variable coordinates. Why? Because theta is varying. P sec theta 0. B has coordinates 0, p cosec theta. For different thetas, you will have different positions of A and B given by this description. Clear? Yes, sir. Now, on this line, while A and B change positions, while A and B move, there is a midpoint of AB which also moves. There is a midpoint of AB which also moves. So while A and B move, while the line moves, while theta varies, the positions of A and B will vary. So the position of M, which divides AB in the ratio 1:1, will also vary. So there is a trajectory associated with them. There is a path associated with them for different thetas. Let's say for a certain theta assigned to this line, theta is my parameter. The point M has coordinates h, k. Now, if I'm seeking the locus of M, which is the midpoint of AB, that means dividing AB in the ratio 1:1, then I'm seeking to connect H and K, the x coordinate of the moving point with its y coordinate, in a manner that it does not contain the parameter theta. I would have to connect H and K without intrusion of theta. In this case, theta is the parameter. And then I would seek to generalize that. I would replace h by x and k by y. That would be the condition true for all positions M of the moving point. How about it? Right? Do you then realize that h would be 0 plus p sec theta by 2? Right? K would be p cosec theta plus 0 by 2. Right? I want to connect H and K and I want to obliterate theta. Right? Right? I want to connect the x coordinate with the y coordinate of the moving point without involvement of the parameter theta. And then I would wish to generalize that. Right? That would be then looked upon as the equation of the locus. Right? Now this is easy because See, from this equation and this equation, from equation 1, cos theta is P by 2H. From equation 1, from equation 2, sin theta is P by 2K. Right? Now to eliminate theta, what would I do? Square and add. Cos square theta plus sin square theta equal to 1. So when I do that, I get like a P squared by 4H squared plus P squared by 4K squared equal to 1. This condition would be true for any value theta assigned to this line. That means true for all positions of the line. Therefore true for any m lying on the trajectory that it traces. And therefore I wish to generalize this. Replace h by x and k by y. That's going to give me the locus of m. That condition would be true for all points on the trajectory traced by m. Right? So generalize this. Replace h by x and k by y. P squared by 4x squared plus P squared by 4y squared equal to 1. This would be the condition true for any point xy lying on the path traced by m, will therefore be looked upon as the locus of m. Yes. Don't bother about that. You will not even understand that. Don't bother. It's a complicated second degree curve. You will not get anything out of it right now. It's not even a second degree curve, it's a fourth degree curve. X square y square is actually a fourth degree curve. It's not even a second degree curve, it's a fourth degree curve, which is not even covered at the +2 level, but you don't even need to know that. Right now you don't need to know. Once we learn a little more coordinate geometry, I'll give you a feel of this also, but it'll be futile for me to try and explain, what this curve is called. Right? So let's settle for this much for this time. Let's move to the next problem and examine the situation involved. Right? Okay, we've done 2. Let's look at 3. There are two fixed lines, x by a plus y by b equal to 1. These are two fixed lines, x by b plus, so let me call it -1 equal to 0. Let me call it, these are two lines, two fixed lines, right? Now, these two fixed lines intersect at a certain point P. These two fixed lines intersect at a certain fixed point P. P is a fixed point. And how do you obtain the coordinates of P? You could have obtained the coordinates of P by solving these two equations. You get the coordinates of the fixed point P. Right? Now, what we are doing is, this point P could be anywhere. That will depend on what A and B are. Through this fixed point P, we are drawing very many lines. Through this fixed point P, we are drawing very many lines. This, for instance, is one such line. Through this fixed point P, we are drawing very many lines, right? Now, say this is one such line. How many lines can you draw through P, a fixed point? Infinity of lines, right? There is a family of lines associated with P, passing through P, right? Now, all the lines passing through P will have their corresponding x-intercept A and y-intercept B. This is one such line. This is one such line. Now, for every line passing through P, there is a midpoint M of AB. There is a midpoint M of AB. For different lines passing through P, there'll be different positions of A and B, and therefore there would be different positions of the midpoint of AB. So while you keep drawing different P's, you will get different M's. If you join all such M's, you would get the trajectory of M, or the path of M, or the locus of M. What we want to do is, we want to be able to connect the x coordinate of M with its y coordinate in a manner that any parameter is not involved. I want to connect the x coordinate of M with its corresponding y coordinate without intrusion of any parameter. That parameter would judge the various lines passing through P. Right? Now, if you again recall what we are talking of, let's say this is a line L1 and this is a line L2. Line L1 and L2. Okay. How many lines can pass through the intersection of L1 and L2? Infinity. There is a family of lines that will pass through the intersection of L1 and L2. Now, any line passing through the intersection, that means passing through P, intersection of L1 and L2 is P. Yeah. Any line through the intersection of L1 and L2 could be represented with the help of a parameter lambda as L1 plus lambda L2 equal to 0, isn't it? A linear combination of L1 and L2 will always pass through the intersection of L1 and N2. Yes or no? So any line of this form will pass through P, the intersection of L1 and L2. Yes or no? Yes. Right? For different lambdas, I'll get different lines, but all these lines will have one common property. They will pass through P. So any line passing through P must be of this form. If I assign different values to lambda, I get different lines passing through P. But, isn't it? I'll get different lines passing through P, which means this then represents the set of lines that we want to deal with. Lambda is my parameter. For different lambdas, I get different lines passing through P, and for different lambdas, therefore, I'll get different M's. I'll get different positions of M. I would want to then connect the x coordinate of M with its y coordinate without intrusion of the parameter lambda. In this case, lambda is my parameter, because if lambda varies, I get different lines passing through P, right? So if I get different lines passing through P, I'll get different ABs. So I'll get different midpoints. The midpoint at any given instant will depend on lambda. If I join the various M's, that will be the locus of M. I would want to connect the x coordinate of M with its y coordinate in a manner that it does not involve the parameter lambda. It will be true for all lambdas. That's what I want to be able to do. Yes or no? Yes. Now, so this line x by A plus y by B minus 1 plus lambda into x by B plus y by A minus 1 equal to 0 will be a line always passing through this fixed point P. Are you confused? No? This I could write as x into 1 by A plus lambda by B plus y into 1 by B plus lambda by A equals lambda plus 1. Yes or no? Just transposition, ordinary transposition, collecting the x terms, collecting the y terms, and transposing minus lambda minus 1 on the other side. Right, so see, x into 1 by A plus lambda by B, y into 1 by B plus lambda by A equals lambda plus 1 on the other side, right? So this then can give me x divided by lambda plus 1 divided by 1 by a plus lambda by b plus y divided by lambda plus 1 divided by 1 by b plus lambda by a equal to 1. Yes or no? That's the equation of this variable line.
Yes, sir.
This will give me the x coordinate of a, the x intercept. This will give me the y intercept b of this variable line. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? Which means the point A that you see here, the moving point A, why is it moving? Because its x coordinate depends on lambda, right? The moving point A has coordinates lambda plus 1 divided by 1 by a plus lambda by b, comma 0. This would be the x coordinate of the moving point A. The moving point B has y coordinates, this lambda plus 1 by this. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Clear? Now, so if lambda is varied, I get different lines, and the x and y coordinates obtained in terms of the varying lambda are these, suggesting very clearly the manner in which the coordinates of a and b are changing. Is it getting too steep? No? Now, for a certain lambda, this is the line passing through P, right? This is the line passing through P. It has a certain A associated, a certain B associated, where coordinates, this is for a certain lambda, line obtained for a certain value of lambda, right? For that value of lambda, the coordinates of A would be that, the coordinates of B would be that, the midpoint M for that lambda would be, say, H comma K, would be the midpoint M, right? How do you obtain H? Section formula. If this is the midpoint, this is 1:1. The H coordinate, the x coordinate of M would be x coordinate of A plus x coordinate of B divided by 2. The y coordinate of M, K, would be y coordinate of A plus y coordinate of B divided by 2. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So the x coordinate of the midpoint H is given by x coordinate of A plus x coordinate of B by 2. The y coordinate of M would be what? Y coordinate of A plus y coordinate of B by 2. Y coordinate of A plus y coordinate of B by 2. That will be K, the y coordinate of the midpoint. Now what is it that I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to connect H and K, the x and y coordinates of the midpoint, but in a manner that it should be true for all positions of the moving line independent of lambda. H and K should be connected in a manner that lambda should be removed. If lambda is removed, then that will be a condition true for all lambdas, and therefore all positions of M, different lambdas will give me different positions of M. So a relationship true for all positions of M would be a relationship that would be independent of lambda. Very difficult?
No, sir.
No? Now, there are two ways. So I want to connect H and K. Now it's algebra. The physicality of the problem is taken care of. Now the algebra would have to be taken care of. Yes, I will have to remove lambda and connect it. One thing, by brute force, dadagiri se. How we could do that? Dadagiri means multiply, there is a linear in lambda, solve for lambda, plug in that value of lambda, and you bleed the relationship of lambda, right? It'll take a lot of juice out of you. Huh? That's what I'm going to tell you. This one I told you is a brute force. I'll tell you a much easier way of doing it, dude. This is why I'm here. Right? What I mean to say is this will work. Right? Brute force will always work. As beginners, sometimes there is no harm trying the brute force technology. Right? But we will take a little detour from brute force and we will try and eliminate lambda from these two equations without deployment of deadly forces. Right? Which is, sometimes there is, if you can see one step ahead, then the problem is taken care of. H and K would have to be connected, I suggest. Lambda would have to be removed. Subsequent to that, it would have to be generalized, replacing H by X and K by Y. That's the algorithm, right? What is 1 by H? Or let's say, what I do is, I bring this 2 here for algebraic neatness, not that it has any functional value. Say 1 by 2H is going to be 1 by A plus lambda by B by lambda plus 1. Yes or no? That's 1 by 2H. What is 1 by 2K? 1 by 2K is 1 by B plus lambda by A by lambda plus 1. Now, reason I do this is that now if I add them, they'll have at least a common denominator. Addition becomes a wee bit simpler. Yes or no? Yes, right? With this only thought, let me add these two equations and see if nature obliges. 1 by 2H plus 1 by 2K is going to be, if I add these two and these two, that's going to be 1 by A plus 1 by B plus lambda into 1 by A plus 1 by B divided by lambda plus 1. Yes or no? Yes, sir. I can take 1 by A plus 1 by B common. Then in the parenthesis, I'll be left with 1 plus lambda. The 1 plus lambda in the numerator would eat up the 1 plus lambda in the denominator. Oh. Hey, lambda gone. Right? Lambda eliminated. Come on, time to celebrate. 1 by 2H, 1 by 2K is 1 by A plus 1 by B. No, don't do that. I'll give you better opportunities for doing that. Rather, he will do that. And then perform the last rites on this. This relationship connects the x coordinate h of the moving point with its y coordinate. True for all lambda. True for all lines passing through P. True for different positions of the moving point M. This then requires this last bit. Right. Generalization. Replace h by x and k by y. So 1 by x, 1 by 2x plus 1 by 2y is 1 by A plus 1 by B. That's the relationship that connects the x and y coordinate of the moving point while we keep selecting different lines passing through that fixed point P. Yes or no? Yes. This is the locus. Right? Let me solve one more problem. Right? Yes, sir.
Here what we do is we first try to find locus. We first try to find the x coordinate of the required point in terms of a parameter and y coordinate in terms of a required parameter, and then we generalize it. But if we reverse here, we reverse the process. It will become much easier. Like we first assume x and y, and then use it to find the coordinate axis, and then relate it with.
Okay. The idea is good. Why don't you document it and show it to me? No. If you document it and show it to me, I will share your noble thought with the rest. Right? Okay. Look at number 6. A line is drawn through a fixed point HK cutting the coordinate axis in A and B. There is a line passing through P. How many lines can pass through P? Infinity of lines. There is a family of lines associated with this. And for every line passing through P, there is going to be a corresponding A and B, the intercepts on the coordinate axis, right? So while I choose different lines passing through P, I get different positions of A and B, right? A and B are moving points. Okay. Now, for every line that I draw through P, there is a certain A and there is a certain B. And this is the origin, right? For every such line, I complete this rectangle OARB. I get different rectangles for different lines passing through H comma K, and therefore I get different ABs, and therefore I get different Rs. Yes or no? Right? Now, in this case, say A varies. A has a variable coordinate A0. B has a variable coordinate 0B. In this case, how many parameters are there? 2 parameters, A and B, although they are connected, but then A and B vary, right? So what's the equation of the variable line? Is x by A plus y by B equal to 1. Yes or no? A and B are parameters. Okay. Now, R would have coordinates what? X at any given instant, A comma B would be the coordinates of this. Right? The x coordinate of R would be A, the y coordinate of R would be B. I want to find the locus. That means I want to connect the x coordinate A with the y coordinate B, right? This line for any AB will always pass through H comma K. So H comma K will satisfy this condition. H comma K will satisfy this condition. So H divided by A plus K divided by B equal to 1. X by H and Y by K. So H by A plus K by B equal to 1. Yes or no? Yes. Hey, have we not connected the X coordinate of R with its Y coordinate? Yes, yes or no? Yes. Do we not generalize? Replace A by X and B by Y. Where X, Y would be the coordinates of this point R. How about it? This is a relationship connecting the X coordinate A of R with the Y coordinate B of R. So do we not generalize? Replace A by X, the X coordinate of R, B by Y, the Y coordinate of R. So generalize matters here. H by X plus K by Y equal to 1. This is going, let me tell you, this is going to be a hyperbola. This would be a curve it's a regular second degree curve. You would learn more about this curve. But this is going to be a hyperbola. But whatever be it, the X and Y coordinate of this moving R will always satisfy this condition. This then would be the equation of the locus of R. Right?